The county treasurer makes all the decisions about everything that happens around one of these auctions. The next thing is you want to view comparable properties in the area. And in the process of viewing comparable properties, what you want to look at is solds only that are similar properties. If it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, it doesn't really compare to a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. It doesn't matter what people list things for, it's what they sell for in the area that truly matters in this whole process. Step 7 then is to look at the conditions of the property. Number 1, curb appeal. We've seen a couple that look pretty good. You know, is the grass been cut? Is the grass long, or do they cut it on a weekly basis? That kind of stuff. Bushes, have they been trimmed? If a property's vacant, or if somebody's not cared about their property for a significant amount of time, you're going to see very tall bushes, and it's going to be pretty obvious from the curb whether those people have taken care of things. If they've not taken care of the lawn and the bushes and things like that, chances are they haven't put any additional money into the inside of the building either. So that's another thing to. And then is the yard clean and free from junk? So I'm going to give you a couple of examples here as to what was on this particular county's auction the last time they had one here. Now this here is a 1-story home currently occupied. The grass looks great. The bushes are normal sizes. There's no trees really overhanging the building that a storm could take down and possibly damage the property. It's only got a 1-car garage. That's a little bit disappointing, but I'm not going to live there anyway, so who cares? But the county claims it's worth $40,000. Opening bid's only $2,000. That's a real good price for an opening bid. So, but it is occupied. Now the question here is, who occupies it? Is it the homeowner that's still there? The county that I work the most, before the auction, they kick out the homeowners. Not all counties do that in Michigan. As Ted said earlier, who's in charge here? One person, the county treasurer, makes all the decisions about everything that happens around one of these auctions. If the county treasurer does not want to take and evict people, half the list could be occupied homes. And there is one county in the state that I can think of that I see probably more occupied homes than anywhere else in the state. So that's another thing to look at. The next one here is a 1-story home, also currently occupied, paved driveway, 1-car garage. In my opinion, it doesn't have quite as good a curb appeal as the last one, but it still has very nice curb appeal. You're looking at, let's see, about a little less than $34,000 in value. Opening bid is $3,300. That's 10%, 10 cents on the dollar. So if you're going to go to 20 cents on the dollar, $6,600 would be your maximum bid. If you're going to go to 30 cents on the dollar, $9,900 would be your maximum bid. So this is all stuff that you're going to look at along the way. And my mind, as I go through the pictures, is really racing through this whole list, because I only want to drive by properties that I, number one, know can make money, based on the margin spread between the opening bid and the county's opinion of the value of the property. I'll look at the pretty ones like this one and the last one, and I'll also look at some of the ugly ones because a lot of people won't bid on the really ugly ones. Now this one's looking a lot more questionable here. 2-story home, paved driveway. It's got a bunch of weeds growing up through the driveway. Shed in the backyard. It doesn't say anything about a garage. And if you look at that front tree there, that looks pretty overgrown. But it's not difficult to trim a tree. So if the house looks good, other than that, it's on my list. If the house looks like it has a couple of other issues, it's off the list. They're saying it's worth $48,000. Opening bid is $9,600. That's kind of high. On an opening bid only, probably I'd keep it on the list. But what I would do is, as I make my list, I don't like to list my opening bid or my maximum bid on my paperwork so that the person next to me at the auction can look over and see how high I'm going to bid. Some people will put a maximum bid on a list and they'll fold that over and just occasionally they'll look underneath it. What I would usually put on this property here would be OB, which is short for opening bid. So I'm willing to pay $9,600. I might go to $10,000 or $10,250, but that's as far as I'm willing to go on this property, provided that when I drive by it, everything else falls into place and I'm happy with everything else. They're claiming this is worth $68,000, which is a good number. Opening bid $4,100, that's a good number. But look up at the bill, up at the house. There's some pretty tall bushes there. That tells me that either the person was a real nature person and didn't like to cut things like that back, or potentially there's a lot of deferred maintenance in this property. Now here's one that I know you're all going to be interested in. You're ready to bid. Awesome.
When you look at these pictures, do you have the date when they were taken?
Occasionally in the lower left-hand corner of the photos, there's a time day stamp from when they take them. Depends on who from the auction company went and took the pictures. Well, which camera they took and whether that one had a date stamp on it, and whether they actually put on there, yes, do the date stamp, no, don't. There's a switch on the camera where you can put that on the photo or not put it on the photo. Through this auction company, some of the properties I've seen have that. I've not noticed one in this county so far, so I'm presuming that they either grabbed a camera that didn't have it or the person switched it off. I do know that our auctions start the 1st of August. These photos were taken October or November the year before. So that's a long time. So that's a good reason to drive by and see if anything's changed. Is there any storm damage? Was there a fire in the house? And the closer you get to the auction, that's a great advantage, and I'll tell you why. A fire can happen at any time, but if you're there within a week of when the auction's going to take place, not much changes in 1 week. Anything's possible, but in all likelihood, that's not going to be an issue. So now if you're dealing in the state of Florida, like where we're at right now, and even if the hurricane does not hit directly on the city, there can still be wind damage, there can still be some issues on some other properties that are a little ways out. You know, that's what you got to look at, is what's the history of the area, that kind of stuff. Now, with all this junk in front of this mobile, There's probably some issues with the building department, stuff like that, unless it's way out in the country. Now, this does say it's in Homer Township. So a township is not as picky as a city ordinance people are. So there may be no violations on this property, even though it looks terrible, but there could be too. So that's what I would check on, because if the city government is mad about the way a property looks, they may not realize that the owner changed, and so they might not be real friendly to you when you show up at their office or do some work or try to sell it, that kind of stuff. So I would at least go into the township office and say, I'm looking at this, just let you know that if I'm successful at purchasing this property, I'm going to do the right thing. I'll do this, 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 this. And that's going to go a long ways down the road to get them to calm down and be very friendly and very willing to work with you in this whole process.